Looking for inspiration, motivation, and the good news of Jesus Christ? Look no further. The Daily Gospel Network has what you need. With more than 300 ministries from all over the country broadcasting every week, you're sure to get your dose of spirit-filled encouragement from the great programs on the Daily Gospel Network. Catch the Daily Gospel Network on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, all mobile devices, and the internet.
Attention ministry leaders. Have you ever considered growing your ministry with television? Well, the Daily Gospel Network could be what you've been looking for. As one of the nation's largest Christian broadcasting companies, the Daily Gospel Network broadcast all over the world on popular streaming platforms like Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. If you're looking to grow and reach more people, the Daily Gospel Network could be your solution.
Tune into the Streets Talk Show with your host, Loretta La-Rue Duncan-Fowler. It's all about uplifting and encouraging you through real stories from real people. Every week, we chat with folks making a difference in their communities and for God's kingdom. Get ready to be inspired, learn something new, and discover the great plans God has for you. Join us for an amazing episode of the Streets Talk Show with your host, Loretta La-Rue Duncan-Fowler.
Hi, welcome to the Streets. I'm your host, Loretta La-Rue Duncan-Fowler. Here we take the gospel of Jesus Christ through the highways and byways. We talk to the most innovative and thought-provoking people about what's going on in their lives so we can help you with what's going on in your life. On this episode, I should say, y'all, I got a few little jitteries. On this episode, we are going to talk to Elsie Guerrero about faith, justice, and storytelling, and Elsie's mission to empower the next generation. So sit back, go get you a cup of coffee or whatever you're sipping on, and relax as I bring Elsie to the Streets Talk Show. And I'll be right back.
Welcome to a world of true inclusion, a place where every voice matters, every perspective enriches us, and every individual belongs.
At PromoteInclusion.com, we're building that world together. Our expert-driven resources and innovative solutions help organizations create truly inclusive spaces, from classrooms to boardrooms and everywhere in between. In our community, we embrace and honor what makes each of us unique, transforming our differences into strengths that bring us all together.
Whether you're an educator, employer, or advocate, we provide the tools and training to make inclusion more than just a goal. We make it happen.
The movement for a more accessible and inclusive future. Visit PromoteInclusion.com today and be part of the change.
Thank you for watching.
Hey, welcome back to the Streets Talk Show. And today we have Elsie Guerrero. She is, let me just get her bio up here. She is a powerhouse speaker. She's a disability social worker, children's book author, advocate for inclusion and empowerment. Through her books, Elsie is changing how children see themselves, their peers, and purpose, whether it's autism, cerebral palsy, self-love, or cultural pride. Elsie's stories open hearts and minds. So, Elsie, welcome to the Streets Talk Show. I'm so happy that you decided to join me today. I really am amazed at what you're doing in the community. We work together on some projects and things, and I just see that it's just amazing to me. I mean, you're a young woman, and you're out here making a huge difference. And I feel like the people of God need to know about the difference that you are making. You can talk to me about your books. And also, I wanted to let everyone know that the theme of our show today is called Faith, Justice, and Storytelling, and it's Elsie Guerrero's mission to empower the next generation. We're going to talk about created with purpose, uplifting young people through self-love, and also seeing the whole child, promoting inclusion and understanding. We're going to base our scriptures on Psalms 139:14, which is, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And then our other scriptures, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ, which is Galatians 6:2. So, Elsie, why don't you go on and introduce yourself to the people?
Well, thank you so much for having me. My name's Elsie, and I'm a children's book author. I published my first, believe it or not, my first children's book 10 years ago in 2015, October 2015. So I'm almost at 10 years, and I can tell you right now, I never thought in my life that I would be a children's book author. I'm a first generation from Sacramento, California. Never thought in a million years that I would publish one book, let alone two, and now I have 25. So in 10
Wow.
books, I have 25 books, mostly about disability. It's just one of those passions that I also fell into right after graduating college. My first job was working as a behavioral therapist with kids with autism. I went on to work for Land Park Academy, an autism school, helping kids mainstream into public schools. And it was in that role that I was inspired, seeing the different kids with disabilities in a special education classroom and just seeing how other students respond to kids that don't look like them, behave like them, and even teachers. And so I published my first book called How Emily and Eli Became Friends, based on a true story. And in South Sacramento, Greenhaven, this little girl would come during recess and tell me, hey, why is he making this sound, or why is he doing something that she thought was abnormal? And when I went to the library to write a book to teach her about autism, there wasn't any. And this was back in 2012, when I went to the library. There was only books for parents and books for teachers on how to work with kids with disabilities, but there weren't any books for kids to learn about their peers. Who would have thought that one book would turn into 2, 3, 4, 5? Here we are, 25 books later. So thankful for the experience. I'm even happy today with my role. I do policy work, legal work, and I end up getting inspired every day from different patients, different family members that just keep me writing. A lot of the books are based on real children, real stories, and I'm thankful for those who have shared their experience with me.
Wow. That's amazing. That really is amazing. You saw a need and you just went and addressed the need. Now, you don't have any children that are developmentally disabled or autism.
I have a brother who has dyslexia, and
Okay.
I also have a disability. I just don't normally share it because I was diagnosed later on. But my passion did not come from me personally. It
Wow.
just came from working with kids with special needs, working at Land Park Academy and helping those kids transition into public school. And it was in public school when I saw teachers mistreat these kids with disabilities that inspired me to go get my master's. And I went and got my master's in public administration and did my capstone studies on how prepared teachers are to work with kids with disability. And then that went on to working as a case manager at an adult school for the disabled. And it was at the adult day school that inspired me to go to law school and practice juvenile justice and special education, because I witnessed nonverbal. The adult school mainly had nonverbal individuals with disabilities. Clients was raped, made me want to go and represent them in the legal field. So that's what took me to law school. It's not funny, but the journey of like, I never thought just like not having a background in disability and just being impacted by the kids to the adults, and then just, grasping that. And it was in law school that I ended up focusing on my community as a Latina and looking at the unaccompanied children, unaccompanied minors, and their mental health. So then I added that component, and then I just started doing my studies, and that's the work that I've been doing career-wise. Policy, I do policy work on health, education, social security, mental health. That's the work. But outside of my work, I've been writing books, because at the end of the day, the work I wouldn't be doing today wouldn't be for the children and the young adults that I served. Practical experience is what made me the person, or shaped me to be the person I am today, and continue to give back and continue to help and support this vulnerable population. So my books are about promoting inclusion to this population and include
Mhm.
them in the conversation. So I've written these in minorities.
Right. You know what? That's awesome. That's great because I'm an Afro Latina, so I'm Cuban and my grandfather's Cuban, my grandmother's French. But that's a part of myself that I don't even really, well, I do recognize it, of course. But when we talk about disabilities and intellectual autism, whatever it is, in adults or children, our population doesn't always get the needs addressed that other cultures do. I have a child that's developmentally disabled. So I come from that standpoint, you know, as far as advocacy goes. And even though you have family members that may have disabilities, that you just took up the mantle and just ran with it. I mean, 25 books, honey. 25 books is a lot. You know, and just to work in that field and to find out that you have a passion for it. And that to me is where your ministry lies. Wherever God gives you that passion and that drive for it, that usually ends up being your ministry. And ultimately you end up reaching people, not just physically, mentally, or in the area of the secular, but also spiritually. Because your light shines, and the Bible does say that, you know, where we show light, they see his light.
No, absolutely. I will say that I never thought my books would reach as far as it had. For example, in Texas, the Dallas School District, they now celebrate Dyslexia Awareness Month, and they reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you do a video? If you're not available, can you do a YouTube video reading your book? Because I want to like to order these books and have each kid read about it." And so it's like, wow, would have thought my book would be in Dallas. I don't live in Dallas, so I've been able to, and even Mexico. And
Mhm.
interesting enough, Mexico doesn't really, when they see somebody with a disability, they just usually say is that person has a problem. They don't say that person's
Right.
disabled. And so the fact that my books even made it all the way to Mexico and to have those conversations about children with autism or developmental disabilities is amazing, to already start having that conversation, because it's only in the United States that we have the Individuals with Disability Education Act. That is not a program that is seen in other schools, where we have to have a less restrictive environment, free appropriate education. Those are,
Mhm.
the way that we address disability in the United States isn't the same in other countries.
Now
And
that's a good point. That's an excellent point to bring up, which is something that we don't even really think about. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That in other countries it's way different, and how we are so blessed to be, even though it's not perfect, the our educational system and everything is not perfect, but we've come a long way, because 40 years ago I was fighting for the rights for my son to attend Sacramento Public School District. Okay. And just to know that, okay, we had the developmental disabilities law center and those things that helped me to fight that all the way to the Supreme Court. But I never really thought about the fact that in other countries, they don't even have it set up where they don't have a structure in place like we do here in the United States. And we're blessed to have that. We don't even know how blessed we really are. So when we come back from our commercial break, I want to talk a little bit more about that in particular. We just got to take a quick little break here, and then we'll be right back after this commercial message.
Check out Loretta La-Rue Duncan-Fowler's book, For the Believers, a guidebook to manifesting abundance, increasing your financial net worth, restoring the paper cuts in your soul, and transforming your life. It's all about healing from past hurts with God's help and finding a meaningful life. This essential guide offers tips for a complete life change, covering everything from money to inner peace. Grab your copy on Amazon and start your journey to a fuller life.
And welcome back to the Streets Talk Show. I'm your host, Loretta La-Rue Duncan-Fowler. And again, we have Elsie Guerrero. She's an author, an activist, an attorney, a professor. She's well versed in special education and she has written 25 books. So when we left, we were talking about, before our commercial break, I should say, we were talking about the difference between education here in the United States as it gears towards special education and education in other countries. So I wanted to kind of just go ahead and touch a little bit more on that subject.
Yeah, so in the United States, we have due process, right? So families have the ability to see an administrative court and get a hearing to ensure that their children are getting the services that they're entitled to based on the Individuals with Disability Education Act, also known as IDEA. Every child with a disability in a public school is given an IEP, right? An individual education plan to best assess them in how to put them for success, right? The goal is to make them independent, make sure that they can be successful for the real world. And what that looks like is going to be different. Somebody might need speech pathology, music therapy, might need a behavioral therapist, might need extra time in an exam, a tutor, there's an assessment in that. And in the essence that the student is not doing well, the impression of the parents have the right to advocate for their child and get a fair hearing and provide evidence on what they believe their child should be receiving or what more can be done to make sure the child's in success. That is not something you really see in other countries. And I can't really speak too much as I haven't dived deep into it, but just from my evaluations from traveling to a couple of different Latin countries and just seeing how they respond to individuals with disabilities, oftentimes they're not in schools. They're just at home. And we had that for a while too. We had, children with disabilities being killed at birth, being put in private institutions. This was just what, in the 50s and the 60s.
Oh yeah, this is no new thing. I mean, when I was coming up, the first thing when I had my son, the first thing I was told, you're gonna have to institutionalize him. You got other babies. You don't got time for that, you know. And it's a cultural thing. And it was cultural, really. I
Right.
believe more so than it wasn't out of hate or anything like that. It was out of love, but it was misplaced. They were just trying to be okay. You have a husband, you have other children. You're not going to be able to take care of this baby. You're just going to let this one go, visit him, do whatever, and then come back. But but I can say but God, because my faith is what changed that narrative for me. I told my pastor and my family, listen, God would have never gave, after much prayer, because I had to wrap it around my own head, that God would not give me a child born with a disability if he wasn't going to equip me to be able to care for him. So I got it in my spirit that I was called to be my son's mother. You see what I'm saying? And that my sole purpose, well, I won't say sole purpose because I've developed into so much more, but at that time, at 19, my sole purpose was to make sure he had the best life possible. That was my mission. That was my goal. And it just started with him and then it developed into something else. So I want our audience to understand that even though 60s and 70s and now we're in 2025 and we've grown, but we still have way more growing to do. As far as church goes, as far as the community goes, as far as what's going on in the political arena, we have to still fight that good fight.
We do. And as we are dealing today with this Trump administration wanting to, get rid of the Department of Education, there is conversations about what does that mean for students with disabilities, because the Individual with Disability Education Act is a federal law, a federal program. And I know they're looking to do a shift from federal to state. I don't know what that's going to look like in the long run, but definitely have been some conversations on that. But you are right. We've gone a long way to improve the rights and services for individuals with disabilities, and then to now see it possibly being shifted because of this Trump administration is interesting. But we'll see what that looks like. But as of now, everything's the same. Um,
Okay.
but yeah,
So,
definitely. I will say also in the public school system, we are seeing more students with disabilities in general classrooms. There used to be a very big divide between the two, special education and general ed, and now we're starting to see a little bit of merge, as well as seeing the Special Olympics. I know I met with the Special Olympics last month. In fact, seeing more non-disabled serving as mentors and friends to those with disability has definitely been a drastic change. So we are, shout out to Special Olympics. I like them for the work that they do to bring such an inclusive environment, because it's not one or the other. We can all be in the same space. And that's really what my books are about. It's just promoting inclusion and bringing everybody together everybody can have a seat at the table, regardless of your disability, ethnicity, race. We can all be together and learn from one another. I've learned so much from the students that I used to work with.
mhm.
And they're the reasons why I write their stories. They're the reasons why I advocate for them. If you ever want to find joy in kids with disability, because they're always happy.
They're always it's unconditional love.
Yeah.
It's really when you learn unconditional love. I learned what unconditional love really was through my son Raymond. Honest to God. I have other children, and kids are kids and they're going to do what they do. But whenever I feel like I'm not doing enough or I'm not enough, I just look at him, or he'll do something or say something, or he'll touch my arm just to let me know that it's okay, mommy, I love you, or I love your love. And I see God through his eyes, honest to God. So I get what you're saying. It is true. If you want to experience joy and unconditional love, then you just get around some children that have special needs, man. Or even if you don't, even if you work, if you volunteer. I used to volunteer kindergarten back in the day. And those little kindergartners, oh my God, they're so happy to see you come
Yeah.
into the classroom, and they love you, and then they tell their parents about you, and next thing you know, the parents are hugging on you. It's an awesome, awesome experience. So we have a little bit, about 5 minutes left in our show, and so we're gonna go to one more commercial break, then we're gonna come back and we're gonna wrap it up. We didn't get to our theme, but I think we did what God wanted us to do. So I'm not disappointed at all. And you can just wrap it up and tell us where people can buy your books, and just give us where people can buy your books or reach you at on your social media platforms, and then we'll just do that.
Welcome to a world of true inclusion, a place where every voice matters, every perspective enriches us, and every individual belongs.
At PromoteInclusion.com, we're building that world together. Our expert-driven resources and innovative solutions help organizations create truly inclusive spaces, from classrooms to boardrooms and everywhere in between. In our community, we embrace and honor what makes each of us unique, transforming our differences into strengths that bring us all together.
Whether you're an educator, employer, or advocate, we provide the tools and training to make inclusion more than just a goal. We make it happen.
Join the movement for a more accessible and inclusive future. Visit PromoteInclusion.com today and be part of the change.
Thank you for watching.
And welcome back to the Streets Talk Show. I'm your host, Loretta La-Rue, Duncan-Fowler, and we're here on the Daily Gospel Network. So, Elsie, I appreciate you for coming on the show today, for talking to us, and just for blessing us with your wisdom and your knowledge and your expertise. And so, where can we follow or support you in your mission?
Yeah. So my website is promoteinclusion.com, and that's where you're going to find all my children's books, which, ranges from baby all the way to adults. I have books that can be of any age. I feel a lot of people can learn from that. My social media, Promote Inclusion Books, that's my Instagram. And my Facebook as well is Promote Inclusion Books. And then my Twitter is Inclusion Books. So keyword inclusion, the importance of everyone and making sure that we learn. Let's, be excited to be open-minded to learn about somebody with a disability and watch. You'll learn something new each time. We're not different. We're just unique.
That's right. We're just unique. We're all made in God's image, and how we come out is exactly the way God intended for us to come out. Let me just say that. I know people tend to think that, oh, you did something wrong, you sinned, or, there's some kind of curse or generational curse. Well, the devil is a lie. That's not true. God creates and forms you in his image, and mental health is one thing that you can work on. Developmental disability, that's just something that is. It is. And so you have to learn to support your child or your adult child or your family member in who they are, and just let them be the best person that they can be on this side of heaven. Because when we get to glory, it's going to be a whole nother program. And we're all waiting for that day. So Elsie, again, I thank you for being on the show. I want you to hang tight, and I'll be right back.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. All right, y'all. So thank you for coming on the Streets Talk Show and our special guest, Elsie Guerrero. And I just want to do a call to action, which is, I want our viewers today's message is clear, that your story matters. Whether you're a parent, a teacher, or a young person trying to find your place, you are loved, you are seen, and you are created with a purpose. And don't wait for permission to shine. Just walk boldly in what God made you to be. And then I want to leave you with, of course, my favorite scripture. It's Philippians 1:6. And you would think I would have it memorized. But Philippians 1:6, being confident in this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to the completion until the day of Christ Jesus. So with that being said, thank you for joining the Streets Talk Show. You guys have an awesome rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Much love to you. Be blessed.
Thank you for joining us on the Streets Talk Show, hosted by Loretta La-Rue Duncan-Fowler. The talk show dedicated to uplifting and encouraging you by sharing true stories from individuals making a positive impact in their communities and advancing God's mission. We invite you to tune in weekly as we explore these inspiring journeys. Until our next episode, we wish you God's blessings. Remember, you're part of the Streets Talk Show family. Take care and see you soon from Loretta and the entire team.
Ministry leaders. Have you ever considered growing your ministry with television? Well, the Daily Gospel Network could be what you've been looking for. As one of the nation's largest Christian broadcasting companies, the Daily Gospel Network broadcasts all over the world on popular streaming platforms like Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. If you're looking to grow and reach more people, the Daily Gospel Network could be your solution.
Looking for inspiration, motivation, and the good news of Jesus Christ? Look no further. The Daily Gospel Network has what you need. With more than 300 ministries from all over the country broadcasting every week, you're sure to get your dose of spirit-filled encouragement from the great programs on the Daily Gospel Network. Catch the Daily Gospel Network on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, all mobile devices, and the internet